Hello and welcome to the Bob Box. Today we have an episode of Spot the Pun. You see, apparently there is a pun in Anorakaphobia's name, but I am yet to see it. Please feel free to explain the pun down in the comments. I'll wait. We done with pun spotting? Okay, Anorakaphobia. Anorakaphobia is a black wedge robot with a yellow stripe down the middle and armed with conveyor belts, which are made of a chainsaw chain, and a very fast hammer. A pointy hammer, no less, so bit of an axe. It made its debut in Series 3 of Robot Wars, landing in Heat E, where it drew lifter Miss Isle. No, you don't need to tell me about the pun in Miss Isle's name. I already know. Anyway, to battle. After a tentative start, Anorakaphobia managed to take out one of Miss Isle's eyes with its hammer axe. It had two eyes on little stalks. Miss Isle escaped, but ended up with Sergeant Bash and lost its other eye. The flames did a number on it. Anorakaphobia caught Miss Isle in its escape, pushed the lifter into a wall, and proceeded to hit Miss Isle with its pointy hammer before Miss Isle escaped. Miss Isle ended up very close to the pit, and Anorakaphobia tried to push them in, but once again Miss Isle escaped. A pushing war ensued. It was at this point where Anorakaphobia had a sudden change of driver in the middle of the battle. Anorakaphobia pushed Miss Isle but drove off onto the spikes and ultimately escaped them and caught Miss Isle for pushing them and right to the edge of the pit. Miss Isle was basically balanced in the middle of the robot. So two of us were in the pit, two of us were not in the pit. Matilda came along and, having an attack of mercy, flipped Miss Isle the rest of the way into the pit. It's a safe place to be when you're halfway there. So that sent Anorakaphobia through. The change of drivers was as a result of the young driver of Anorakaphobia being very nervous and suffering from motion sickness with the cherry picker that the teams were in. And he was a bit queasy, poor kid. I hope he weren't eating. Next up was a lifter, the big cheese. Now, before I go on, some of you may know that I vowed not to do any cheese puns for the Big Cheeses episode, which hasn't happened yet, because cheese puns are far too obvious. However, Anorakaphobia is not the big cheese, but it did fight the big cheese, therefore, fair game. Be warned, here be puns. Anorakaphobia tried to go for the big cheese's sides, but the big cheese wasn't having any of it, so Anorakaphobia ended up thrashing at thin air, whilst the big cheese carried it on the wedge of the robot. The big cheese was pretty much all wedge. Anorakaphobia escaped, but nearly escaped into the safety of the pit of oblivion. There are cheddar places to be. Anorakaphobia returned to annoy the big cheese, but couldn't land a blow. Driving into a wall can't have helped. Nor did driving close to the pit for a second time, or annoying Sir Kill-a-Lot. Though, given that Anorakaphobia is comparatively tiny compared to kill lot was pretty cool. Soon afterwards, the big cheese used its lift to clamp Anorakaphobia's flailing hammer and turned around and dropped Anorakaphobia straight in the pit. So it was all Gorgon's over for them. However, Anorakaphobia did actually manage to get nominated for Best Design. It lost out to Razor. Its team also did try to return for Series 4. They had a tank bot with weaponized tracks, and it would have still carried the name Anorakaphobia. Sadly, it did not make it in. Shame. Weaponized tracks. Maybe the cleanup people sort of thought, no, if this is going to make a mess of robots, our floor don't stand a chance. Anyway, Anorakaphobia was fast and aggressive, but it was very reliant on the driving. And the problem stemmed from the fact that of the two people who drove it, one got very nervous and had a nervous stomach as well, and the other didn't suffer from the nerves but wasn't a brilliant driver. So a combination of the two would have been an ideal fit for Anorakaphobia. Having said that, Anorakaphobia's young driver, the one who was nervous, did a fairly decent job from what little we saw of him. However, I have to add that Anorakaphobia would never have made it out of its heat even if it had beaten the big cheese. Chaos 2 was in that heat as well, and Anorakaphobia probably would not have stood a chance. Whether it would have remained in the arena is another matter. And in the event of Anorakaphobia's driver, David Kingsbury, watching, I've dealt with a nervous stomach myself. I know how you must have felt. One thing you are not is alone. You did well, and hope you are well. So, who's next? Time to find out. Well, what do we have here? One that's in the edge of the box, I think. Immortalis. Oh, name rings a bell. I think it might be related to Pièce de Resistance, if I remember rightly. Until next week, Callison244, out.